The officer handed the candy to the little girl. Looking at the dazed young recruit, he smirked. Everyone was stunned by the scene. Even the seasoned lieutenant was clearly shocked, but the officer merely wiped the blood from his face and turned away without a word. The veterans resumed their paranoid ramblings, which finally pushed Ham, a new soldier who had always despised war, to his emotional breaking point. He walked into a small grove and cried silently, unable to understand. What had the little girl done wrong? No one can choose their fate. Ham was born into a military family. His father, a World War I veteran, had always hoped both his sons would become soldiers. His older brother, Wilhelm, had already proven himself. Now captain of the Greyhound Assault Unit, a force feared even among the elite of the German army. Under their father's pressure, Ham joined his brother's team as a new recruit about to head to the front lines, where life and death were never certain. Victory had followed the Germans everywhere, their confidence at an all-time high. The veterans chatted loudly in the transport truck, boasting about returning home in glory after Christmas. Only Ham remained silent. Soon they received orders. Take out an enemy outpost nearby. Soviet troops were positioned at the high ground, firing down relentlessly. They needed 2 soldiers to provide covering fire. Everyone raised their hands, everyone except Ham, who clutched his rifle, face full of fear. This left his brother, the captain, in an awkward position. Without hesitation, Wilhelm led the charge himself. All the soldiers huddled together in the camp barracks. No one wanted to leave the warmth. Reluctantly, Ham accepted the task of picking up meals for the unit. As he passed through a patch of woods, he heard a faint rustling sound. Without hesitation, Ham grabbed the food box and ran back toward the camp. At the same time, the front lines came under heavy shelling. William shouted for the soldiers to gather, preparing for a Soviet assault. But when he looked closer, he saw his younger brother Ham charging forward. In that instant, Ham was caught in the crossfire between the Soviets and Germans. With Soviet soldiers closing in behind, William panicked, but it was too late. Ham went down. Desperate, William gave the order to open fire. His comrades unleashed everything they had toward the front. Under the near-frantic counterattack, the center of the battlefield soon fell silent. William ran to his brother like a madman. He flipped him over with shaking hands. To his relief, Ham was still alive. In the days that followed, Ham grew rapidly. Gone was the youthful idealism. Now, when faced with the enemy, he wouldn't hesitate to pull the trigger. But the tide of war had turned. The Germans were suffering defeat after defeat, and now the army faced a shortage of manpower. New recruits arriving at the front were barely more than children. One day, a fresh-faced soldier cheerfully introduced himself to Ham. Ham only responded with sarcasm, but that very night, the new recruit died in a surprise attack. Captain William spotted a woman in the distance, ushering children into a house. His instincts told him something was wrong. He tried to stop it, but he was too late. All that was left of his comrades were scattered remains. William was filled with helplessness. They had lost count of how many friends had died beside them. Every time the camp was ambushed, someone had to pay the price. The Winter brothers' father was a World War I veteran. He hoped his sons would contribute to the country. The older brother, Will, had seen countless battles and was already a lieutenant. The younger brother, Ham, had never experienced the brutality of war. While those around him were fervent and excited, Ham preferred poetry and literature. The 2 brothers followed their unit into Soviet territory. The journey was smooth, with no obstacles in their way. Will, as the assault team leader, always led from the front, with his men brave and eager for battle. But Ham, on the other hand, acted like a coward, which filled Will with shame. Soon they encountered resistance. It was just a small group of Russian soldiers. In order to keep the main force moving forward, the captain sent Will and a few of his men to deal with them. They clearly underestimated the Russian soldiers' determination. A small defensive position of 4 or 5 men prevented them from getting close. Will needed to take 2 men with him to charge ahead. At that moment, everyone raised their hands to advance, except for Ham. He stood out in the group like an outsider. Under cover fire from his teammates, Will and the 2 others managed to approach the position, but soon lost 2 of their comrades. In a critical moment, Will risked life and limb, charging through gunfire, and after a brutal fight, they finally captured the position. Afterward, Will scolded Ham. He was the only one who didn't willingly fight. Everyone looked down on him. The 2 brothers parted ways angrily. That evening, Ham leisurely smoked a cigarette, completely unaware of the danger around him. His teammates urged him to put it out, but Ham took a long drag instead. The very next second, the bombs began to fall. His teammates erupted in furious curses. The air raid lasted for a long time, leaving the camp in ruins and causing heavy casualties. The next morning, the enraged soldiers took out their anger on Ham, beating him with fists and boots. His older brother, William, stood outside the door. He ached for his reckless little brother, but there was nothing he could do. Not until Ham was beaten within an inch of his life did William finally step in to stop it. That brutal experience was a turning point for Ham. He finally understood war is war. No matter what he did, someone would always die. Time passed, and by October, the rainy season arrived. The German mechanized forces became stuck in the mud, rendered useless. It marked the end of Hitler's infamous blitzkrieg. 100 kilometers from Moscow, Ham's squad was trudging slowly through a swamp. They had captured a local villager to act as a guide. Under his direction, they prepared to cross the wetlands on foot. But just a few steps in, they walked straight into an enemy trap. In the swamp, a Nazi soldier accidentally stepped on a landmine. Knowing he couldn't be saved, he reached out and grabbed the squad leader's brother. William tensed up in panic, but it turned out the man just wanted to send a final message to his family. He asked them to walk away. Moments later, the hopeless soldier triggered the mine himself. Ham turned back. His face shifted from fear to fury, because the one who just died was the only friend he had left in the entire unit.